Brilliance Audio presents the unabridged recording of Copper Heart by Leena Lehtolainen. Translated by Owen F. Weitzman. Performed by Amy Rubinate. 1. I've always had a good memory for smells. Sometimes, even years later, I'll recall the scent of some person or place. When I think of spring, I remember the inviting smell of wet earth. Autumn, I know by the heavy, plaintive perfume of wet leaves. When the wind came from the east, spreading the acrid stench of copper and sulfuric acid from the mine's tailing ponds we called the sump, I knew I was home. 10 years ago, before I escaped the rural town of Arpikylä, I barely noticed the smell. Back then, I also never noticed the sheer majesty of the tower, the gray rock of which dominated Arpikylä's silhouette. As I walked down Main Street, the tower hovered over the buildings and trees, a great gray ghost, at once ethereal and ponderous. The hill of exposed copper-yellow bedrock below it only emphasized the tower's menacing darkness. I had to turn my eyes away, toward the blue of the cloudless sky and the green of the birch trees below. What was I doing here again? I was actually getting used to being back in Arpikylä. I wasn't here to stay, after all. This was just a 6-month stint, and the first 2 months were, mercifully, already behind me. I was getting used to the way life tossed me from place to place without warning. A year ago, I graduated from law school and started a job with a small law firm in Espoo. At first, the position seemed perfect, but the firm's business practices gradually began to seem more than a little dubious. Over Christmas vacation, I decided to take a risk and resign. But before I could, the head partner died of a heart attack. As the executor of the estate got down to business, it quickly became clear that the firm was on the brink of bankruptcy. Complete liquidation was the only option, and the remaining partners sent me packing with just a few months' severance in my pocket. Finding a new job seemed impossible. I even humbled myself to the point of calling my old workplace the Helsinki Violent Crime Unit, where I worked as a police sergeant before training as a lawyer. But they didn't have anything because the whole office was being dismantled. No one else was hiring either. Suddenly, my life lacked any fixed point of reference, especially since my boyfriend Antti had just left for a year-long postdoc in Chicago. So, for a while, I just bummed around.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?